What's going on, world? It's your main man. Right back at that ass again. And here's another one. Just want to make this brief video, man. I saw this video by this brother, man. He was talking about, how I guess he's from the suburbs, and he was talking about how there was some guilt. I guess the brothers in the suburbs feel that some people feel that they should be the leaders of the black community. And if they are the quote unquote leaders of the black community, then the community should be in better shape than what it is today. It reminded me of what W.E.B. Du Bois said back in the days about the talented 10th. He said the talented 10th should be the ones they're pretty much the smartest or the most accomplished, and they should be the ones leading the blacks or helping the black community. But of course, after quote unquote integration, a lot of those the more educated classes had a chance to move out and venture elsewhere and go to other communities that were non-black, so on and so forth. But here's the thing, man. Here's my opinion on it. In terms of fixing the black community, there is no fixing the black community, dog. You got to respect the parameters and the depths of what you're talking about. I was raised in the inner city. There is no fixing the black community, dog. And here's why. I don't care how talented you are, how educated you are. I have 3 degrees myself, and I came from the inner city. Not everybody from the inner city is dumb, or not everyone from the inner city has been locked up. A lot of people from the inner city become police officers. Some become lawyers, doctors. Not as many as not as many blacks from the inner city become doctors as blacks who were raised in the suburbs, obviously, but there are exceptions to the rule. And I was teaching, and I was sick of people acting like I used to talk about where I was from. Well, you really from there? Like I'm lying to them. Yeah, I'm from there, motherfucker. You've been watching too many commercials. Not everybody from the inner city ended up selling drugs and going to prison for life and getting killed, or going crazy, or ended up being alcoholics on the street corner. But here's my thing, man. One thing I learned from being being raised in the inner city. One thing I learned is that there is no fixing the inner city, the black community. All right, we can say the black community, and for the most part, they're in the inner city. So there is no fixing the black community. And here's why, man. Because first of all, no matter how talented or educated you are, there is no fixing something that does not want to be fixed. You can't fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. You may not be even a good therapist. You may not be able to help a person who wants to get well, because that person may be too far gone. But for certain, you're not going to be able to help someone who does not want to be helped. Not only do they not want to be helped, but their very identity is based upon the fucked up that's been created. I repeat, their very identity is based on the fucked up that has been created. Meaning, just like when I was a teacher for this school, this inner city school, and I said, yeah, man, you guys should straighten up. Every class I have to stop and address bad behavior. As a school, you've been ranked in the 98th percentile in terms of education and attendance and things of that nature. So you're pretty much the worst school, one of the worst schools in the state. And they got up and they weren't ashamed. They got up and they was applauding like, yeah, woo, 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 yeah. Like, applauded being the worst. Just like in these videos, man. The worst of black people is celebrated, and that's been the thing since blaxploitation movies back in the 70s. where the pimp culture and the Mac culture, although some of those movies were good movies. I mean, I watch them even today, certain movies, but still, the core element in those movies were to entice blacks to want to go down the wrong road. Even though the ending, at the end, you saw, what happened to most of those figures in the movie, but still, the characters in the movie that were playing the pimps and the Macs, like Richard Pryor, with that brother in the '73 when he played in that movie called The Mac, with Goldie and the pimping and all that. I mean, those pimping movies gave birth to hip hop. Because I heard a lady in the library tell me, oh, well, that's why most of those rappers make the music they make, because they grew up in the inner city. Not she didn't know that I grew up in the inner city too, but they grew up in the ghetto and blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, no, a lot of them rappers are getting that shit from blaxploitation movies. Sometimes they even call out the characters. You hear some of them say Goldie. How many pimps in the street was actually named that? I mean, you had some, but they got that from the movie The Mac. It's certain shit that they say in the songs that come directly from the movie or directly from Iceberg Slim autobiography Pimp, his book, called Pimp. So my point is, you can't help something that doesn't want to be helped. Not only does it not want to be helped, its identity is based on failure. So their identity is based on shit being fucked up. Jail, prison. It's so much to the point of people, like I said, people don't even think. If you from the ghetto, people assume that, or especially I know from a black American ghetto, people assume that, if you become a teacher or a businessman or something like that, or a firefighter or a cop, then you couldn't have come from the ghetto, which is not true. Most of the kids who are raised in the ghetto don't end up becoming gangsters, but that's the philosophy behind it, and most people celebrate that. If you don't have kids out of wedlock by 19 or 20, you're not black, or you're not from the ghetto. If you're not being irresponsible, you're just slinging dick around. If you're a childless man, I mean, I had a friend who made fun of his own brother because his brother didn't have kids at 25. I mean, that's the sickness that's in the black community. Having kids all over the place, not being able to afford them. Like me, I have no children. I'm 40. In the inner city, that's looked at as an abnormality. You must be a faggot, even though a lot of your faggots do have children, and they're friends with some of these faggots, mind you, so-called thugs. But if you don't have children by a certain age, you must be a faggot. And black females are one of the first to call you a faggot, even though they're friends with a lot of these actual faggots who are really faggots. They're friends with these guys. And they bring these guys around their children, but they'll call a heterosexual man who's been responsible, they'll call him a faggot. But that's the sickness in the ghetto. This one reggae brother made this song called Ghettoology. That's the ghettoology, man. You know what I mean? He said he don't have a degree, and his degree is in selling dope. His degree is in, heartache and pain. You know what I mean? That's the ghettoology. That's pretty much it. So, when you have people who have embraced an identity, and then I'm not saying it's all of blacks' fault for becoming like this. I know there's higher powers that put this into play, but we're not trying to fight the things that we can control. We're not trying to fight against this ideology. So you can be an educated brother coming from the talented 10th or from the suburbs, or even a brothers who became educated that are from the inner city. Blacks aren't listening to the actual brothers who were in the inner city who might have been brothers of, like, for example, Big L. His brother was into crime. He became a rapper. But what happened? His older brother told him to do some street shit that ended up getting Big L killed before he got a major contract. So a lot of times too, brothers who do become successful, who are from the ghetto, if they do get a pretty decent job or something like that, yeah, they move away to a better neighborhood. They have to try to hold on and keep what they have attained, what they've worked so hard to attain. It's that survival of the fittest type thing. You don't have, it's not like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, it's not like in the 60s where, some of the higher educated chose to leave because they thought that the black community was on a downward spiral. The black community is already fucked up. So if you were to stay, the few who are decent may get sucked into that drain because they chose to stay in a fucked up environment. So, there is no change in that, man. You can't change a their psychology. Once that's been influenced, they're going to have to do some groundwork to change that. Because the thing is, even if you pull them out of the muck, they'll bite your arm just so they can dig a hole and go deeper into that mud if their mindset is already fucked up. You can't change nothing like that. Now you can change someone who is borderline, right? And they want more and they're borderline and you might can get them. Yeah, sure. But that's not the majority of what's in the ghetto. But those few line walkers who end up usually falling into the negative side, you can pull them out. But how you going to get to them when they're surrounded by bullshit? Usually the family members sniff out those kids who may have a chance and they make fun of them. They beat on them and they verbally abuse them. So until they get them to the point where they break them or push them over to the side of negativity. The few kids that they see with hope, a lot of the people in the black community knock those kids down because kind of like what Neely Fuller was talking about, man. The community is filled with blacks are filled with poison, especially the poison helps them hate each other. Like he said in one of his videos, he said, I think Neely Fuller is about the age of my grandfather. He said he remembers, in the Jim Crow South, versus like if you get on a bus now, the inner city bus now, and he was right. You can stand on the inner city bus now. A bunch of blacks are on the bus. You can feel that animosity, that anger. Even if you don't even say anything to anybody, you can feel that anger on the inner city bus. You don't feel a family atmosphere. And 99% of the inner city buses, they're filled with black people. Black people make up about 90% of all those who ride the city bus all across America. So it's not like back in the day in the 50s and 60s where you had a lot of white people who used to ride the bus. Because back then, like Neely Fuller pointed out, back then blacks had to go to the back of the bus. And you were forced to be close to one another because the white bus driver told you, watch your ass, don't say shit, go to the back of the bus, and don't step on the white people's feet while you're heading back there. And there are only a few spots for quote-unquote colored. So some blacks couldn't even get picked up because you only had a few seats in the very rear. But now, you don't have to worry about that because most white people don't ride the bus. But my point is, it's like he said, you can feel that animosity. If you were to get on the inner city bus, you try to smile at another black person, they'd be like, what you looking at me for? What you smiling at me for? You can feel that animosity on the bus between black and black. So it's that poison that we have that prevents us from being close with one another. Now, yeah, there are certain instances where you'll have, especially older blacks, who who can at least go to a gathering and sit there. I went to a black karaoke and it seemed pretty cool. But for the most part, especially for younger blacks, it's a whole different mentality, right? So, but yeah, that's my thing there, man. You can't help what's not gonna be helped. So back then, he was saying, you had blacks who were more, together as a group unit. Post 1960, it seemed like after King got killed, the black community just fell off the map, man. Like they just gave up. So now you got mostly blacks that hate each other. Everything that's negative, they identify it, they glorify it, they worship it. And like I said, I know we don't control the media and things of that nature, and we don't control the images that are being projected out. But and some of these rappers don't have a choice. Either you rap and get paid, or you don't get a job at all. But the stuff that we do have control over, talking to our children, trying to fight against those negative images and stereotypes, we don't do that. So you can't help something that doesn't want to be helped. Doesn't matter if you have 3 or 4 degrees. Doesn't matter if you're from the suburbs. It doesn't matter if what people think you should be able to do. I mean, it takes a long time to change someone's psychological mind, man. I mean, you'll need tools, and you would definitely need their cooperation. Because you have a subconscious mind. You have a subconscious mind. And right now, media pretty much controls our subconscious mind, and they're shoving images of bullshit in the minds of, or in the mind of the black community as a collective. So you can't help something that does not want to be helped. You cannot fix something that does not want to be fixed. Especially if that something or that community identifies with that negativity. A lot of blacks have identified with becoming killers and prisoners and drug addicts. And the thing is, I mean, we're not even the best killers, man. The best killers are the white marksmen, that work for these special forces or special ops. But still, our people have been brainwashed. Oh, we're the best in killing. And all they're pretty much killing is other blacks. These blacks aren't putting hits out on whites. You're not killing Italians. You're not killing Jews. You're not killing Austrians. You're not killing Europeans, people from England, people from Ireland. You're not killing these people. You're just killing your own, which proves nothing. I mean, that's the only way a black can get a pass, is by killing his or her own. So I just want to make this video about that. At this point, in my opinion, there is no fixing the black community. But be sure to like, subscribe, leave your comments. Let me know what you think. All right. I appreciate the comments that have been left thus far. All right. And you guys take care and enjoy yourselves.